Hey y'all, thought I'd make a video, a quick update on the map for this. For the record, I basically took the components of Hawaii's islands, the seamounts of the main islands, and I put them together and basically attempted to join them until I arrived at what I'm looking at presently, which is essentially this, where it's folded in as a sphere. So essentially to see if the Hawaiian Islands existed as a sphere because of reasons. And then, so this is the updates. I realized I could kind of use this website to do it. So I started trying to do it, but then I had like larger white spaces initially. So now I rearranged it differently, and I took a while just warping, especially the upper and bottom regions, because that's how it goes on the sphere, where the center region is much more like untouched, although I did kind of try to make the boundaries actually overlap by moving. Like here it doesn't, so I like move things around basically. So this is not this one. This one, like here, we really got it closer here. There are issues with I'm really struggling to map this like precisely to make it actually like function. This is probably my best attempt, I believe, because this piece is actually not part of this piece in terms of like it's over here. I cut it and moved it over here, and it worked kind of, which is good. Not that I like wanted, but just from I managed to put it positionally in a decent enough way to even do that, to essentially fill up the space over here, or really here, with this. And I kind of stretched this out. I believe I have basically aligned like 1 1 2 2. All these things are still pretty much aligned. The map itself is having this issue where it kind of like pretty much is doing like this. So the top segment that is actually like this, that I have turned on its side, because it is on its side, it is connected down here and over here. So it's really this way, but it wraps around. So basically it's producing this, which maybe isn't completely wrong, but I think there's some subtleties to it that are lacking in this. Okay. And down here, like along this line is where it's most, like over here looks pretty solid, the boundary, although it looks like I overlapped the actual terrain here a bit just in this region. But it's essentially here energetically. It's hard to do this, to put this on a sphere. But it is fitting, like it is, by taking these islands and just generally truly attempting to align them appropriately and like envision it as a sphere, and then use this as like a base with some spreading down here and spreading down here, redistributing it. So like I cut it in half and put it over, like put the left half wrapping around over here so it fits better, and had the structures overlap here so it fits better. And like this was just like, I was having a hard time when I was doing this, getting the left half, like, or this right region to close up without just like stretching this over top it. And then I was like, this isn't even a square or rectangular shape, and that's really what I need it to be ultimately. even though it's a sphere, I need to like make it a rectangle. So I moved that over and just kept moving around. So this is where we're at right now. We still got the generally W-shaped region with the arms. Arm, down, up, and then arm, like hugging the like top and bottom segment, pretty much. The like conduit between them in a way. If such a thing exists, I don't know. Pardon me. But then over here, I got this. I tried to move it like up until it was pretty good. So this is what we're at now. This really should go more over this way. And have Kilauea more up here, and other details are not quite exactly. It's just too difficult for me to do because I don't really know how to do it. I'm just kind of trying to take this and make a sphere out of it. I think it's pretty good though. Like, it doesn't totally deform things. Up here is a little bit, but I think it's like not, it doesn't need to be deformed like this. Down here it's really deformed, but that's okay. And so now like the next thing to do here would really be to look at the geology. Like the currents make sense. I've already talked about the positioning of where they separate as like, okay, this is where the currents flowed based on this other currents we're seeing on the Earth's atmosphere, in the Earth's atmosphere. Which is interesting. The Earth's atmosphere resembles these like currents pretty much, having something of this nature, something in the middle of this nature with a big W with like wrapping segments, and then a bottom like triangular type segment that I found in at least one of the like elevations of and how being considered for currents. Where it really did have like pretty much this overall like boundaries of currents. So then the question is like, does the current from Mauna Loa make sense to have flowed like up into this region maybe through here or whatever exactly? It's hard to say on this map. It's probably easier just to go over here and be like, does it make sense for, and like, does the type of terrain geologically align in ways that reinforce this sphere hypothesis? I mean, it doesn't like totally like not match is what I'm getting at. It's not like the things I've seen, like this here does flow over here where I was really looking more at not the structure overall, but at the currents within the structure. When I was looking at the currents within the structure, I've basic and the geological structure and those currents within the types of rock in Hawaii. When I was looking at that, I really did connect here and here by the currents. So it does, generally speaking. So it does essentially match it with like I didn't really have this region incorporated. It would be interesting if I did this again and just removed it and like under the premise that this is like accreted, just to see if it fits better, because I've considered that. It seems like it could have been accreted in the process, like as the earth expanded, it like ballooned here, but like currents were heavy here enough to open it, but they were enough to also like seal it with new layers of like accreted continental crust pretty much. So it's possible that like it's actually more within, and But under the premise that it's not, I mean, it looks like it's not, so I kind of just went towards it wasn't like that. Even though initially I thought they were accreted islands, if this were to be a thing, that they were accreted. But now I'm just like, alright, this is just how it was. Now does this match? And like, Kilauea swings up and lines up with, what is it? Waianae? This western volcano of Oahu. Like, whether or not this was actually here, there's some seamount that slid off that made this segment larger. But whether or not that's like, there's also some from here. So like when this broke away, there's a landslide of some of the material into here. That's under here. Okay, so I don't want to make this too long. I was really just going to show the map. So these are the two maps that I felt were pretty good. This one really exemplifies this side better. I guess this one does too. Actually, I'm one of these I messed up. That's right, one of these is not right. I just put them at the wrong position, not paying close attention. This is correct. Right? Let me go to the map. Wait, did I close Photoshop? I think my computer's not happy then. It just closed. Fuck, did I lose that? I probably lost it. Shit. Probably lost all these. So I can't change them as easily. Fuck. So here's this. What was I even saying? Ah, crap. Here's the landslide, seamount slide from the severance of. I wonder if this kind of features it. Because essentially it was like this. So like generally here and here are generally towards the landslide. So like maybe as like this kind of extensional segment of this segment, like the top broke off, but so did like the upper layer, kind of like a hurricane shape, like a much more, a larger amount of the surroundings to a point where it took an underlayer of here and an underlayer of here with it, maybe, to really make it so it's not like so close to the island, but it has these extensional features that are more extensional than like over here even. Like they're really substantial relative to the rest of the region. Maybe this then is really correlated to this. Like its shape, oh my god, right here, the way it versus here. Because essentially, this was here, but then this point was at this point. I believe, yeah. And then this point was at this point? Or is that right? Maybe this is accreted. Okay, let's open it. Let's go to this one. Alright, actually, let's go to this one. I don't know if this is exact anymore. But essentially, here's the thing over by Oahu. So if it's by Oahu here that I was just looking, yep. Wrapping around, so we can see that this feature was here. So like this was here, which means this was here. This was already here, and this was here. This feature being there really supports this hypothesis. Like it just left behind material, a bottom layers, the outer layers as it separated. Or maybe actually this one took an outer layer, which then this slump region basically had no supportive structure, so it just slumped. Whereas this is a ridge. There's no slump here. The slump is instead here, which maybe is more tied to like this region. Like maybe that is even like energetically tapping into Mauna Kea. Like wrapped around it. It's kind of got like a upper line, bottom line, straight, like a more straight than I thought it was more circular. It's kind of got a hexagonal type thing potentially. Like it was attached to. Let's go to the map. Here or here. Which one is it? This one. I don't have it there. It's possible I have these backwards. Like I just kind of put them the way that I could. But I didn't really try to move them opposite. Like I was like, oh, that looks good. So it may be that like that thing does actually go more to Mauna Kea. Like goes like this the ridge kind of comes down here, and then this segment was actually attached to Mauna Kea from the top side, but now what is now the bottom side, but what was at the time the top side. Let's see. This ridge kind of related to this region, maybe. In terms of that, there's different types. Like perhaps, if I were to look, there would be slumps adjacent to ridges, like bubbles adjacent to just like collapse zones that just kind of fell. So they still have like a smooth surface, but they just collapse pretty much. Whereas over here, like this type of feature is maybe more of like what was physically attached underneath the slump at the time. So like that there's a trough here. This was like under it kind of. Maybe it also emitted to a degree, but then as we turn, we see a ridge here maybe. It's essentially, or here. And then a slump. Slump, where is that? Mauna Loa goes to that corner where it says Mauna Loa. Here goes to here. So then we have a slide and a slump here at that corner. And then we got a ridge and maybe some counterpart here. Slump, slump, seamount. So maybe something of that nature. Kilauea side. Yeah, so here. Pretty much here. So it's not really that, like, it's kind of slump and slump, but also this is certainly where magma is flowing because of this additional volcano, which essentially I believe the currents were flowing generally around, but then wrapping here and running into the mass here and just deflecting and just kind of getting maybe trapped here, maybe leading into this region, but some segment of it trapped here, so that then it kind of came back out this way to create Loihi. There's a straight one off this way, off this way. Feasible. Feasible. Slide. 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 So slides and slides are maybe also just this generally appearing similar enough. Although this one I would say was physically above what moved away over here, and then had no supporting structure because the top layer was deposited, and then there was like a nucleus region that was just able to support it, like a galaxy with like a ball, like a plate on it, kind of like this. So like it had a supportive structure just removed, and then like it collapsed and slid down away. Here. Whereas this one really didn't have that happen. It was that the supportive structure was just deposited here when the sphere was a sphere. When it was still like the nucleus, the terminal, the north pole of this system tapped into the Earth here and like attached in a way where like kind of like a toroid shape was removed more so. Like this whole segment here, how it extends outward, where really what we're seeing is more, as Keawe is more like inward segment. So I tried to get it at the North Pole. I mean, it's pretty much there enough. And then so that's probably why that's so widely distributed, if this is the case, of course. Since this was over here, it would have pretty much slid around. So it probably deposited some, like, chunks of it this way, I wonder. I haven't really thought about this or looked into these segments, but they seem related to the motion of this from over here. Since this was attached here, it had to basically disconnect in the process, and maybe it was just like a particle hitting the ground and just shooting out like bits of itself that then deposit in ways like this, but then like the larger chunks stay as larger chunks and then just settled in these positions. Let's see, slump. It's generally over here. Ridge. Ridge kind of makes sense for like at least this one. I think it's generally around here where that ridge is. This is here, and then it wraps around maybe to here, generally to here. So like the ridge is generally in this region, which there's a channel there of some sort. Maybe that's related to this ridge. Be interesting if there were shapes of Ni Hao over here. Keula, maybe here, and I don't know if it was here. I don't know. I bet this even is related to which bond is breaking, because essentially there's a bond between each segment, like what I drew here, where there's numbers, if I can find it again. Are pretty much like major bond points. Like 4 really shows it. The chakra was a major bond point, and it did break. So maybe that's related, this Indianapolis one, for instance, to that bond breaking. Maybe also that one down there. Whereas like this one points more towards this bond. This points more to back here, to back here, to back here. As like a point of emanation. These back to this region. This up to like to here. Okay, so C-mounts, slides, features that are similar enough to be like, and etc. accounted for. I'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks for hanging out.